It was almost 50 years ago, except it's a year or two off from when the classic horror film from 1974 came out, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Well known to this day that while not might be something everyone knows, it has its place in cinematic history, let alone film horror. So of course we got another one, because I recognize the title. Even if I watch it and don't like it, I fell for the trap. They have my money now. Well, this movie is straight to Netflix, so I'm not giving my money to people who made this movie, so why not watch it then? I got an hour and a half to spare, and maybe I'm not giving this movie a fair chance, except it's just as bad as I thought. I mean, I don't know what I was expecting. I didn't watch the trailer. I just knew going into this was going to do what Halloween 2018 did, and while not the only example I can make, watching this movie will make you think they're just doing what they did in Halloween 2018. But with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, except instead of using the same title, they just removed the "the" at the beginning, which is funny since DC is doing the opposite approach to its movies now. You'll also finish this movie with more questions than answers, but my biggest question is, why did they make this? Of course this was going to be originally released in theaters, but now it's exclusive to Netflix, so they did want this in theaters, which I only know now since I looked it up for research for this review, so I'm going to judge this like it was always made for theaters. Not to say Netflix is lesser, I'm saying I'm judging this as if it took my money, the way it makes me feel I wasted my time. This movie isn't even that long, it's 74 minutes without credits, and it's gonna feel that way. Not to say it feels short, it feels way too long, and I'll get into why later, but I should probably just talk in a more calm manner, you know? I only saw the original film a day before the trailer came out just because I was interested in the original since I heard of it being a classic, and while I personally don't find it that terrifying, I understand 100% why in 1974 this was so shocking and scary for other people. And while I knew what my problems were with that film when it was done, I give more respect to that movie than this modern film by a long shot. This movie is a requel film. It reboots the franchise for the third time, I think. I only ever saw the first movie, so this film ignores any other movie in the franchise, and is a sequel to the original movie years later, with old characters returning, but starring new characters. And for what I thought Scream 5 pretty much would dissect this formula of requels, this movie is the biggest cliche of a requel, and I hope this is the last time I see a franchise do this formula, but who knows, maybe they'll make a new Friday the 13th called The 13th Friday, or maybe they'll make a Nightmare on Elm Street requel called The Elm Street Nightmare. With the sad possibility of that being said, what's the movie about? Directed by David Blue Garcia and written by Chris Thomas Devlin, the movie takes place almost 50 years after the original. We're in a recap of the original movie where it explains how Leatherface, a madman who massacred 4 people who came into a remote Texas town and stumbled upon his own, with the only survivor, Sally Hardesty, played by Olwen Fouéré, not the original actress because she's dead, who tried to hunt down Leatherface in revenge, but never could in the span of 50 years, and her current whereabouts are unknown. But you know, she's gonna come back into the picture. In the meantime, what about the new characters? Well, 4 people come into the same town called Harlow. I actually don't know if it's the same town, but I don't care. Where 2 entrepreneurs named Melody, played by Sarah Yarkin, and Dante, played by Jacob Latimore, want to sell the ghost town to new people to use it, and along for the ride, they're with Dante's fiance Ruth, played by Neil Hudon, and Melody's sister Lila, or was it Lila? I don't remember, played by Elsie Fisher, who is a survivor of a school shooting and is dragged there by Melody since she's the only character to get any development, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I shouldn't spoil how one-dimensional every character is. They do find someone who's still living in this ghost town, an old lady who looks like she'll bite the dust any minute, played by Alice Krige, or Krieg, I don't. I feel like I should look up how to pronounce these names, but that would imply I give some respect to Texas Chainsaw Massacre to give it time to do so. Anyways, after an argument of her still owning her building, she's taken by the cops as she is having a heart problems, along with her only other occupant of the building, which of course is Leatherface, played by Mark Burnham, and as she dies, he seeks revenge, which he'll get because every character in this movie is an idiot. Ugh. Every character in this movie is an idiot. Oh my god. Okay, where do I begin? Movie for the first half of it wasn't horrible, not good, but mediocre or worse, since the characters were pretty uninteresting and obvious foreshadowing of certain characters or weapons to appear later on were obvious, so by the time Leatherface comes back to town to exact his revenge, these might be the dumbest characters in a horror film I personally seen in a while. I can't account for every dumb horror movie to come out in recent years, so I don't know what to say. Every character makes the wrong choice, and it's frustrating how moronic it is. One character who I forget what his role in the movie was, takes the keys to both the main character's car and the bus, which at first I thought was part of him knowing that guy was Leatherface and wanting them to die, but the only reason I know it was there was so the main characters couldn't easily escape. One of the buyers, knowing they're at risk of being killed, doesn't tell anyone on the bus, even the driver, because by the time they have the keys again, she doesn't tell anyone they need to get out as soon as possible or warn them why. And then a stupid scene where I honestly think if they removed it, this movie wouldn't be dated. I mean, that literally is the movie. Is the buyers stuck on the bus with Leatherface all take out their phones, with one of them saying they want to cancel him. And when Sally returns to this movie, she makes the most selfish choice that kind of made me want her dead, where she forces some of the main characters stuck in the back of her car so she can kill Leatherface so they can be bait, except she doesn't use them as bait at all. It's more reasons on why they had to figure out how to stress this movie out, when there are so many times the characters could easily just get away. Like, it's frustrating. I actually thought for a moment they would do something different, like making the final girl not obvious, but it's exactly who I thought it was because of a Deus Machina, which leads to the character making more dumb choices. I hate this movie so much. I honestly think this idea could work. Two family members are forced out of their home for years by newcomers, and when one of them dies, the living family member exacts revenge. It could be possible, and maybe this idea out of context has been done before, but nothing in this movie works. The only thing I guess I can appreciate is the acting from Elsie Fisher, since I didn't recognize her as Elsie Fisher, so bravo, the one person trying. This movie is lazy. It's clearly just trying to copy Halloween 2018, where Laurie was a sole survivor and prepared her whole life in case of Michael's return. It's the exact same thing done here, but done awful, since she makes such a selfish and honestly sickening choice to do so. I honestly was glad she got what was coming to her. It was a choice that made both no sense and was straight up cruel for the wrong reasons. Heck, they sort of tried to do the passing on the torch trope where Elsie Fisher or Lila or Lila, I don't care, picks up her hat. This movie isn't the worst horror film I've ever seen, but it's so obvious what it's trying to copy that worked with other franchises doing a requel. The new characters are not interesting or given time to care about, and everything I thought this movie was going to do, where a plot was going to go, what was going to be obviously foreshadowed, me screaming at the moronic choices every character makes. I hate this movie. I don't get a sense the reason it was made was because they wanted this franchise to live on. They just wanted another movie with the same name because I recognized the title, and I watched it. They won. I watched it. I give Texas Chainsaw Massacre a 2.5 out of 10.